Hello and welcome to Threefold Herbal Healing. I'm herbalist Leo Sade. I help people who struggle with chronic conditions grow their health from the roots up. This is the fourth and final video about alchemy. If you're curious about alchemy, I suggest you go to the first video. The second video, I was focusing on the nature of light and how light was a unifying force um, that made the many one. It's kind of the foundation of holistic approach to nature and to human body and to medicine. Today, for the last post of the topic, I'm speaking about the opposite direction, about how the one became the many, how light is divided into elements and principles that are very much like the potter's hand shaping creation. The alchemists described what they call prima materia as a seed. It contained all the stages in the development of the world. But it wasn't a manifestation of all those stages. It was rather like the pupa of a butterfly, a separate being that is empty, yet it's part of the process. It holds the entire potential of the butterfly in it. It is the becoming. It's the seed for creation. It is unified existence with endless possibility at the same time, but it's also empty. There is a void in there. Seeds, when they germinate, are divided into two. They send a radical or the first root down into the gravity of the earth, and they shoot up a shoot into the forces of air and sun, warmth and light. Much like the seeds of plants, the seeds of the cosmos, the prima materia, was divided into two processes. One process was called the celestial salt. It is a yin process that, much like roots, relates to the gravitational force of the earth. The other process was called celestial nether. It is the yang force that is more volatile and diffusive, tending to enter the process of air and heat. So there is one process, celestial soul, that is pulling down, and one process, celestial nether, that is pushing up, dissipating, becoming spirit. You can already see the expression of the saying, as above, so below. From the oneness, we are going above and below, and those two mirror each other. Every seed that is propagated throughout the earth from the beginning of time follow exactly the same steps as the creation of the cosmos. So what's happening in the cosmos happen in the microcosmos. What happens in the microcosmos is in the macrocosmos. This is mind-blowing that the entire creation manifests itself again and again and again every time you sow a seed. Those two processes, yin and yang, grounding into the earth and seeking the air and warmth of the sun, were each divided into two, creating the four elements as we know them today. They appear in the cosmology of all cultures in the world. The four elements are not merely physical substances we call earth, water, air, and fire. And in some cultures, we have the fifth element, the ether element. They are energetic forces that mold and shape all that we can experience in the cosmos and in our body. So they really are like the hands of a potter shaping a piece of pottery. The celestial salt was divided into earth element and the water element. The celestial nitra was divided into the air element and the fire element. It makes sense to think about the celestial salt pulling down earth and water are heavy and, very gravitational, while the air element and the fire element are more diffusive, like the celestial nitra. And the fifth element, the ether, is kind of an element that formed by harmonizing all the other four elements, bringing them together into one wholesome thing. So let's talk about each element by itself. The earth elements represent the forces of form, solidifying, stability, cohesion in the cosmos. It is the element that keeps us rooted in our body, through which we experience ourselves as separate beings. The earth element is associated with the sense of touch. With touch, we at the same time feel separated. We have the boundaries of our body, but at the same time, we also feel connection, intimacy through hugs and touch. The earth element is connected with the winter season and with the roots of plants. Herbs that are considered to be associated with the earth elements are bitter herbs or alternative. Alternative herbs are those blood purifying herbs. I would say red clover is an alternative. Burdock is an alternative. Those types of herbs. Those herbs are considered to be grounding and cleansing. Think about earths. The melancholic constitution is associated with the earth element. People with melancholic constitution tend to be serious and broody. They tend to pay attention to details and may become perfectionist. The shadow of this constitution is a tendency toward depression if the constitution is not balanced by light and warmth, so not enough air element or fire elements to kind of balance the earthy gravitational. The water element is considered to be slightly lighter than the earth element, but still more toward gravitation. It's the carrier of life, feelings, and memories. It's enlivening the earths and our bodies. Water is associated with the fall season and with the emergence of mushrooms after the rain. Leaves are the part of the plants that relates to the water elements. And the herbs that are associated with the water element are involved in keeping the fluids balanced in the body. So we are talking about diuretic herbs, herbs that will initiate urination. The emulsions, those are herbs that are moistening and soothing, cooling, and lymphatic herbs. Lymph system are herbs that cleanse the body of toxins and host the immune system. The constitution, the mental or constitution that is associated with the water element is the phlegmatic one. People with phlegmatic constitution tend to be very flexible and easygoing. Those are people that can fit themselves in any environment, the same way that water, if you hold them in a cup, they will, they will get the shape of a cup. If you put them in a bowl, they will shape themselves into the bowl shape. That's phlegmatic people, very flexible, very easygoing. It is hard to motivate them though. But once you motivate them, people with phlegmatic constitution are the most persistent people that I saw in my life. Phlegmatic people were not balanced by the earth and fire element, may become very unmotivated. They become stagnant, and that could be actually toxic because they can't bring themselves to do anything. The air element, it embodies the principle of movement and light. It is the carrier of communication, language, and intelligence of nature in the macrocosmos and in the human body, in human life, as in the microcosmos. Birds learn how to let their body just float, surrendered into the air. and let the air carry them into the sky. This allowed them to have bird's eye view of the world. So the air element allows you to have this wide perspective of what is happening. Spring is the season that is associated with the air element, and the flower is the part of the plant that relate to the air element. Air, light, flowers, color. Make a lot of sense. Airs that are associated with the air elements are expectorants, which stimulate the lungs to cough and expel mucus. The constitution that align with the air element, that have good relationship with the air element, is the sanguine one. Sanguine people are cheerful, full of life and light and levity. Like butterfly, they flirt with one flower to another, they rush to one person to another, one project to another, but they find it really hard to focus on one project for an extended period of time. Many sanguines have developed an aesthetic taste. Like flowers, they are very creative. They tend to be attracted to light, color, and beauty. The fire element is the most volatile and primary engine of transformation. As such, it is an important force in the alchemist lab. At the physical level, fire transmutes substances from one state to another. Think about water, ice, and gas. Just you heat a substance and it's changed its state. On the mental, spiritual level, fire purifies the ego. Feeling, water elements, and thoughts, air element. So fire can transmute all of them. Fire stands in the center of the cosmos and at the center of every living being. Warmth is necessary for ripening fruits. Therefore, fruits and the summer season are associated with fire. Herbs that relate to the fire element stimulate the blood. They carry heat in the body. Those herbs are diaphoretic, herbs that really disperse warmth from the center of the body into the periphery, so you can sweat warm out. Stimulant, herbs that stimulate blood flow, and circulatory herbs that increase circulation. The choleric constitution is the constitution that is associated with the fire element. Choleric people are often leaders. They are the go-getter people, full of will and courage. They might become prone to tantrums and aggression if their fire is not contained. And when I think of the archetypal choleric person, I think about Napoleon. You know, this sturdy man going out to war and not really looking behind him to see if he has what he needs to win the war. Not really containing all thought, feeling. It's just the ego, one-minded way. Let's talk a little bit about the ether element. It's the element that organizes the other four elements into a cohesive body. In nature, the elements come together in different proportions. Seeds manifest the ether element as they contain all the four elements within themselves in a balanced way. But different plants, different people, different conditions have different proportions of each of the elements. When observing the animal kingdom, you can see how the elephant is much more connected to the earth element, the fish to the water element, the bird to the air element, and humans are really connected to fire. The spiritual being of individualism is a fire element. The light within me is the light of fire that acknowledges the light of fire within you. In human, two elements manifest more strongly in a person's constitution. So people might be, um, you know, um, phlegmatic and choleric, but phlegmatic and melancholic could come together, and create the way they relate to life, their strengths and their weaknesses, both at the physical level and in their thoughts and emotion and mindset. As the Greek called them, the humors or the elemental constitution were only one sets of colors that influence people constitutions. When the alchemical worked, they also worked with the astrological map and the birth date as tools. So you had the astrological map, the birth date, and the elemental constitution when they diagnosed and treat their clients. Today, we are using less and less of the humoral and the astrological, although I know of herbalists that still do so. The elements are manifestation of the way that the vital forces of creation work within nature. They are the forces that initiate the patterns of energetic. Those patterns are the underlying root of herbal medicine in the world. They are the foundation of the language in which plants speak to us. They are the foundation on language through which our bodies communicate disease. So the four elements created the three principles. The three principles were called tria prima, and they are the fundamental components of nature. So when you combine earth and water together, you will get the soul principle. Air and fire together created sulfur principle, and water and air created the mercury principle. So let's talk a little bit about those three principles. In alchemical philosophy, spirit is embodied in all that is matter, and matter is always elevated by spirit. Therefore, although the three principles are named after substances, they don't describe a substance. They describe a process, a quality that reveal an archetypal origin of process, basically. So the soul principle is created when earth and water comes together. It's the principle of hardening and forming and creating shape. It's manifest in crystals, in sacred geometry, everywhere in nature that you see small details. Look at the sunflower and see all the details of shape that are there. That's the harmony of the soul principle of creating crystals, shape, rhythms. In the human body, the element of soul finds itself mostly in the bones. It's one extreme, that are always in the process of becoming harder and harder, but never quite achieve full hardening. We still have blood and lymph flowing through our bones. When the bones become brittle due to old age, what we call osteoporosis, their life process decline, and they surrender to the principle of salt. That's when the principle of salt take over the living principles. As a soul quality, the soul principle is related to our thinking capacity. So people who are stuck in their thought with those circular thought are people that the salt principle are holding too tight on their mind. The principle of salt pulls down into the gravitational pull of the earth. The part of the plants that are mostly associated with the salt principle are the roots, which are the hardest parts of plants. Some plants that are closely related to the principle of salt, and those plants are horsetail, for example, or nettle, herbs that are very high in silica, magnesium, and other minerals. So you want to use salt processes in a person that is kind of falling into the sulfur, that is unbalanced in the sulfur principle. So let's talk about what it really looks like when somebody is in the sulfur principle. The sulfur principle is diffusive, dissipation, dissolution process. It's like those people that are not really in their body. They are a little bit dreamy, not really in the reality. It's created everywhere where fire and air come together and has tendency toward the sublime or the spiritual world. Those are people that, they say their head are in their clouds. In the human body, it's connected to the process of will. People who act out of passion without considering the consequences of their behavior are embodying the sulfur process too strongly. So remember Napoleon? Air and fire coming together. So in people that the fire is too strong, that there is not even enough place for the air, you will see it even strongly. The constituents of the plant associated with the sulfur principle are the diffusive oil, aromatic oil that diffuse, that give the plant those scent. In most plants, the aroma is associated with flowers. Flowers are indeed being of light and warmth. They dissipate into scents, fruits, and seed. A very special family of plant is the mint family. It's a very special because, first of all, they are especially rich with volatile oils, but they choose to concentrate all their volatile oils in the leaves, while most other plants concentrate aroma in flowers. In the mint, you will find it in the leaf, and they are all medicinal. So every one of the members of the mint family is a medicinal healing plant. All of them are associated with the Mercury principle that is about wisdom, intelligence, healing. Mercury, the one that up and down. Mercury is our last principle, and it's the principle that is born out of the marriage of the elements of water and air. So you have one element that is more from the gravitational elements and one element that is more toward dissipating, toward the air. So we have water and air coming together to create a more balanced principle. It's more balanced than salt and sulfur, and it moves quickly between them from one physical state to another. Mercury moves between gas, liquid, and solid. In mythology, Mercury was the god who could move between the three worlds, the upper world, where the gods, the goddess, the middle world, where humans roamed, and the underworld, the place where the devil, the gnomes, lived. Mercury moves constantly between the cosmos, exhalation, and the center, inhalation, or the microcosmos, the macrocosmos, and the microcosmos. As such, it's related to the breathing process in both human and plants. In plants, it's related to the stem and leaf. In humans, it's related to the rhythm process of the lungs and the heart. So there is this in and out rhythmical process. Mercury balances the two opposing poles through intelligence, language, and is associated with feelings. It is how the spirit can communicate itself in the practical world. The alchemists developed the four elements and the three principles by observing nature. Now, if you observe the four seasons, you will see that winter is time of freezing and crystallization. All things are tightly drawn together. For us human, it's time to draw our attention inwardly and contemplate. So it is a very earthy, salt process. In summer, nature and human dissolve. There is so much activity, so much sense distraction, the heat, the air, we go out into the cosmos. In between, we have the fall and the spring that are windy, erratic, and the changes of weather are really fast, which is more Mercury process. So we have winter as a salt process, summer as a sulfur process, and the in-between season, spring and fall, as a very mercurial processes. As we go out into nature and observe those three principles as they weave into every living process, we're reminded, as above, so below. The same principles that create form and function in plants at the season work within our body and within our soul. We can observe ourselves and find when we lose balance between the three principles. Stubbornness, it's too much salt. When our ideas win over the heart and will. Impulsiveness, too much sulfur. When we act before we think, only when we let the warmth of the heart bridge between the crystal clear mind and the passion of the fury of the sulfur element can we find balance. And the goal of the alchemist in the lab and the goal of the herbalist today in the clinic is to help people really find this balance between hardening and between not enough movement to too much movement. It's all about balance. That was like 4 amazing weeks about alchemy and the way it's formed Western traditional herbalism. It's really the roots of how we think. And from here, we can go ahead and create the 6 tissue state and observe people and make choices about care plans, herbs, and conditions. I hope, first of all, thank you for watching this. It was a long video, I'm pretty sure. So thank you. If you got that far, kudos to you and thank you for watching. I hope it was beneficial. And I would love to hear back from you with any question or comment. Drop them below. And have a good week. And let me know if you have an idea for next month. I'm still thinking it. Bye.